Women's basketball lost its greatest champion this morning. Pat Summitt, the coach with the most collegiate wins of either gender, passed away at 64 from complications of Alzheimer's.
Every possession matters. Take pride in every possession.
Summitt took Tennessee's Lady Volunteers to incredible heights over 38 years at the helm. 1,098 wins, 8 national titles. It was an amazing journey for a coach who started out making $250 a month and had to drive the team bus and wash the uniforms after the games. Probably her most impressive stat, though, 100% of her players who completed their eligibility walked away with a college degree. After her diagnosis, Summitt became an advocate for awareness and treatment, saying her public profile allowed her to lead by example. It was the way she led her life. It was an attitude and commitment that earned her a Medal of Honor from the President in 2012. Today, the people who knew her best, her players, reflected on how their coach changed their lives.
I don't think there are enough words to obviously cover all that Pat has done for women's basketball, for all of us individual players, just her impact and that she's made on women's basketball. She's the reason that we're on ESPN. She's the reason that we're competitive and that we have a fire under us and that we want to win and that, you know, we cry when we lose and that we're passionate about basketball.
In the New York Times obituary, there was this quote: "In modern history, there are 2 figures that belong on the Mount Rushmore of women's sports, Billie Jean King and Pat Summitt. No one else is close to third." Joining me to reflect on Pat Summitt's legacy are Barbara Stevens, a coaching legend herself from Bentley, who won the program's first ever national championship. It's good to meet you, Barbara. Shira Springer, she's a legend too, from the Boston Globe, a sports writer. And another high-achieving coach, Laney Clement-Holbrook from Oliver Ames High School in Easton, who just became the winningest high school coach in Massachusetts state history. Congratulations to you. Does that New York Times thing ring true with you, Billie Jean King and Pat Summitt?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because of all that she accomplished, but more, in addition to the 8 national championships that you mentioned, it was the way she placed women's sports above all else. And one of my favorite anecdotes about Pat Summitt is that she was, after many years of success at Tennessee, she was approached by officials at Tennessee to coach the men's program. And what was her answer? She said, "Why would I consider that a step up?" And it was the way she revered women's sports, the way she promoted women's sports, and she saw that as the end-all and be-all that puts her up there.
Barbara, you and Laney knew her a little bit. Tell us a little bit about Pat Summitt and why the impact was as huge as we're all reading today.
Well, I think when you consider the sport of women's basketball, Pat is the giant. She is.
Why? What set her apart? Why was she so different?
Well, number one, the tremendous success that she's had at Tennessee. The way in which she ran her program, I think, is, for me personally, I've tried to model my program after the way Pat has run her program.
You met her as well. I mean, what did she mean? What did she mean to you as a coach?
Well, as a high school coach, I would take the opportunity to go to the national championships. And the first time I ever went to the Final Four was in 1990, and it so happened that it was in Knoxville. So my first opportunity to see women's collegiate basketball at that level was where she worked and where she taught. And I had an opportunity. I was on my way to go listen to her speak. And I was riding down an escalator in the convention hall, and I turned behind me, and there she was.
Look at the look on your face.
And it was just one of those most amazing things, because I turned back to her and I said, "Oh my goodness, I'm on my way to go listen to you." And in her southern drawl, she said, she goes, "I'm a little bit behind schedule, and I'm not sure exactly where I'm supposed to be." I said, "Follow me."
That's great. So as Shira said a minute ago, is women's college basketball where it is in great part because of Summitt herself? I mean, is that a fair statement, Barbara?
Very fair. She started it all back from when she first started as a head coach at the age of 22.
$250 bucks a month.
And I think
who would ever get a job nowadays at the age of 22?
And I think also it's important to remember when she came along in women's sports. She was born in 1952, 20 years before the passage of Title IX.
Yeah.
So you can, she was a co-captain of the 1976 U.S. Olympic team. So you begin to see she was just there as people's attention was turning slightly toward women's sports.
She won a medal as a player and as a coach. did
Yes,
she not?
exactly,
Yeah.
silver and gold. And so she really ushered in the rise in women's sports, particularly in women's basketball.
Laney, if she changed things, do people like you and Barbara, do you get the same respect that men get you're the winningest coach in high school history in Massachusetts on your side. You've won a national championship. Do you get the same level of credit a man would get for the same accomplishment?
You know, I don't really know how to answer that question because that's not really where my effort is. You know, my program and my girls are the most important thing, and having them have success in athletics translates into having success in life. And so I don't really spend a lot of time thinking that. I just know that the opportunity for us is in great part due to Pat Summitt and the way she fought for equal rights, because Barbara and I are both of that generation.
And we're college roommates, should say.
Well, yeah.
You too.
She may not be able to answer that
Well,
question,
you can.
but
So-
I'll answer it. And the answer is no, unfortunately. And there, just shows how much more there is to go in terms of equality in women's sports. You should get more respect. You should get more attention, as should you, Barbara. And it's unfortunate. But what I like about all the remembrances of Pat Summitt today is it's really putting an emphasis on what she did, and hopefully it will turn people's attention even more to accomplishments like yours.
I think-
I think, Jim,
Yeah.
I do think that there's far more recognition now of women's sports, coaches and players, than there ever was. And I think a lot of that, especially in basketball, has to do with Pat Summitt.
You know, by the way, I'm thrilled to meet both of you, too, I should say. Does it drive you as nuts as it drives me that while the good news is in Division I, there is a higher percentage of women coaches in women's basketball than any other major sport, the 4 final teams in the Final Four all coached by men. Does that bother any of you? Truthfully, Barbara, I know what the answer is now with that little throat clearing.
Well, I'm going to say something else that kind of caught me. I was at the Final Four this year, and in the exhibition hall, as you walked in, were life-size photos of the coaches who had won Coach of the Year in their respective divisions, high school all the way up through Division I, and all were men.
Bother you?
Yeah, a little bit, I have to admit, a little bit. Not that I root for people because of their gender. I root for them if they're good. But I would love to see women coach women's sports. I really would.
You know, I'll tell you, we end this. The thing that stays with me, the victories are great. The fact that, as I said in the open, that she graduated every single young kid who came through her program who lasted 4 years is just, it's epic. Congratulations to you too, Barbara. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, Jim.
So much,
Thank you.
Shira. Good to see
Always.
you. Laney, you as well. Congratulations, and
Thank
thanks
you.
for spending some
Thanks,
time
Jim.
here
Thank
tonight.